Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to r/IDontWorkHereLady, where Karens continue to mistake regular Joe Schmo customers as employees when they aren't. And you guys know how it is. It's going to be another episode of Karens attacking people, getting tasered, getting arrested, being ultra entitled. So kick your feet up and enjoy today's stories. Oh, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and the email link will be posted right here for your crazy story submissions. Okay, so in my late teens, I worked at a popular Canadian coffee and donut shop named after a former NHL player. I'll call it Trevor Linden's. There's a lot throughout my town, but I worked at one particular one near the waterfront. One day, I took my grandfather to the clinic for his weekly checkups. Now, I didn't like waiting around the office, so I went down to Trevor Linden's by there, got a coffee, and started to read a magazine waiting for his call. I was in no way wearing my uniform or anything similar to it, but one Karen knew me from my location and began trying to get my attention, as apparently the line was too long and they were a bit backed up. When I looked up, she swept the table with her hand, knocking over my coffee and some papers I had spread out, and she said to me, "Break's over." At that, I start screaming at her and say, "Hey, F you, I wasn't done with that." To which the Karen says, "Hey, you work for Trevor Linden's. You've helped me get coffee before, so get off your lazy ass and help out here." She then proceeds to give me her order. At that point, the manager and an employee comes over and asks what's going on here. The employee began cleaning up my coffee from the floor while Karen tells the manager, "Hey, your employee needs to be helping. She's just sitting here drinking coffee and reading." The manager then says to her, she doesn't work here. She can't help you with anything." To which Karen says, she helps me all the time at the waterfront location." Hearing that, the manager says, "Yeah, that's nice, but this is the downtown location. She's not employed here." When the employee finished cleaning up, the manager told him to get me another coffee, and Karen blows up even more. She then starts screaming, "What the hell for? She should be working. She's a Trevor Linden's employee. She should be helping me." At that, the manager says, "Yes, she may work at Trevor Linden's, but not this one. Right now, she's a customer. If you can't be civil, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave." So hearing that, Karen fumed, but she returned to her seat and I thought it was over, as the employee brings me another coffee. But it gets better. So I was at my location a few days later when Karen comes in and gets in line. When she got to me, I recognized her, but I slapped on my customer service face and said, "Hey, welcome to Trevor Linden's. How may I help you?" So out of nowhere, she starts demanding, "Get me your manager." Yes, this Karen was definitely out for blood. I continued smiling and said, "Sure thing." And I go to the back to get him. He then asked her what her problem was, and she says, "Your employee here refused to take my order the other day and was really disrespectful to me." My manager says, "Okay, I'll deal with him in a bit, but for the time being, what can I get for you?" Karen then looks at him and says, "I want you to tell her that she has to serve me." The manager says, "Okay, I don't know why she didn't serve you if she works here. She should be taking all customers' orders." Hearing that, Karen says, "I knew it. You told me you didn't have to serve me." I then look at my manager and said, "I was at the downtown location, not this one." And Karen says, "Yes, she refused to serve me at the downtown location a few days ago." My manager said, "She doesn't work there. Why would you expect her to help you?" Karen then says, "Because she's an employee of Trevor Linden's. It's her duty to help all customers at every Linden's location." My manager then looks at her and says, that's another franchise. We all may be a Trevor Linden's, but that's a different location. She has no responsibilities there because she's not employed there. Now, is there something I can get you here?" Karen then snorts, turns on her heels, and marched out the doors. I was more willing to help out and volunteer for that manager after that. Guys, I love this story so much. It reminds me of that one story where a Karen believed that all restaurant servers should be servers everywhere because they all have a code to follow. Like, it's actually hilarious how some people think that though. But with that said, interrupting someone on break, knocking over their coffees, and throwing their papers on the floor is a great way to get someone to help you. Okay, so I'm a correctional officer and I work nights. After work, I normally just go home and sleep to get ready for my next 12-hour shift. However, on my days off, I like to take time to do chores and housework. So on this day, I didn't have the night off, so I had to do what I could before going to bed. So I went home and picked up my wife and kiddos to go grocery shopping. We get to the store and start doing the usual, and that's when a lady comes up to me and my family and starts asking for directions to items. Some I know and some I don't, so I tell her where the things I know are and apologize for the things I don't. Now mind you, I'm in a full uniform, taser cross-draw, cuffs on each hip, fogger on my left thigh, and all the other items I use at work. Now the woman seems upset, but she walks away. We continue shopping, and after a while, we meet up with a lady and she spots us and comes down. But this time she's pissed. She starts screaming that I'm the worst employee ever and I should be fired for not helping her. The woman continues on about how I should be catching shoplifters or at the back watching cameras instead of flirting with this whore, looking at my wife, and I'm thinking, yay, she's one of those. I then interrupt her rant and say the usual words of, I don't work here. Now Karen of course fails to hear them, and she continues her rant, yelling and screaming that she picked me to help her because I'm asset protection and I should know where everything is. I then ask my wife to take the kids and find a manager for the Karen. The lady from now on is known as Karen, and she's none too pleased to hear that her secret identity is outed, and she increases her volume. I try to explain to Karen that I'm a jailer, not loss prevention at a grocery store. I then tell her to go pound sand and find someone that actually works here. I then turn my back and start walking away when I'm nailed in the back of the head and I fall forward in a face plant. I'm hurting, dated, and I can feel glass all around me. I then roll onto my back and feel around. It's pasta sauce. The woman's just brained me with pasta sauce, and she's yelling and screaming and raises another jar to throw. And that's when I grab my taser, aim, and pop. All of a sudden, she goes down, I stumble over, flip her around, and cuff her. The woman's out like a light, and my guess is the fall. I then sit back down and take an inventory of myself. I'm bleeding pretty bad from my head, but I seem to be alright. My wife, customers, and management show up as I'm checking over Karen. I then pull out my trauma kit off the back of my belt to get the smelling salts. I then tell them to call 911 and continue checking on Karen. She's awake, dazed, and blissfully quiet. So the rest goes as expected. The police arrive, question me, question her, watch the cameras, and I refuse medical treatment, but I do press charges. So fast forward a couple of hours. I get a call before my shift ordering me to come in early to talk to rank. Dreading this, I follow my orders and get up, shave, showered, and dressed. I then go in and have to explain the whole thing again and again. They then show me the video from the store and it's exactly as I explained. They order me not to wear my uniform outside of work and tell me I'll be working in booking tonight. So 11 p.m. rolls around and who do I see being escorted into booking but Karen? I start to talk, but my sergeant taps me and shushes me. He then talks to the deputy bringing her in, and they start doing the paperwork, while I watch and try to learn as much as possible. The Karen is charged with aggravated assault of a law enforcement officer and possession of meth. Who would have thought? Now Karen gets to live at my workplace. Now I don't get to work in the female zones, but the booking process was fun, though I wasn't allowed to do anything but watch. After she's booked in, I'm told to report to another zone and I end up finishing the night. Now, for the past few days, pasta jokes have been in abundance, and her nickname is Pasta Lady. Yeah, guys, why that woman threw that sauce bottle at OP is beyond me. Like, if you're walking in a store and you see someone that's in full uniform with a taser, cuffs, and everything like that, the last thing you want to do is assault them. I mean, not that she should be assaulting anyone in the first place, but assaulting someone who clearly has weapons on them is a special kind of stupid, but hey, drugs, right? Either that or just being super duper entitled. Okay, so I work for a major railroad in the northeastern US, and in case you didn't know, we've had some storms lately. We needed some 30 amp sockets that we had run out of, so I went to my local big box hardware store, buying as many of these as we could get our hands on. Unfortunately, many people were cleaning up after these storms and they needed these parts too, so I was having a devil of a time finding them. So because I work for a railroad, I have to be qualified to go near railroad tracks, and I have a badge that shows I can do this. The badge is Safety Orange. One of the hardware retailers is known for Safety Orange. It should be noted that this badge has a railroad logo on it, but I'm sure you can see where this is going. I visit my 5th hardware store of the day yesterday, and I start looking in the aisle where they usually keep these. I find the area and it's destroyed. It looks like an American tourist or gorilla was looking for wall outlets. So I check their stock on my phone and I start looking. After a minute of digging around, I hear the mating call of the greater northeastern whooping Karen. She says, ahem, to which I ignore. She does it again. Ahem, excuse me, and I ignore it again. Still digging in the shelves, I find an unopened box of 30 amp 4-wire sockets. Pay dirt. I've been buried up to my waist in dusty shelves looking for these, so I pull myself out with a box of sockets, looking like I just wrestled a badger. I then come face to face with Karen. She's all of 5'2", with an asymmetrical bob, chunky jewelry, sunglasses from the Kardashian collection, the whole bit. She then says to me, "So, are you deaf, or are you just plain stupid?" Now, I'm pretty low on F's to give on a good day, but today I'm completely out. So with all the sass I can muster, I say, "Neither, Karen, I just don't give a crap about what you have to say." Now, we all know that Karens love being called Karen, right? So at this point she says, "What did you just say to me? Where's your manager? I hope you enjoyed your last day working here because you are done." I then say to her, "I don't work here. It's why I couldn't care less about you, or your opinion, or who your husband is." Karen then says, "Of course you do. Why would you be wearing an employee badge?" I then say to her, "Employees here wear aprons, they don't wear badges." A woman in her mid to late 40s with a kind but exasperated face comes walking up to me and says, "Hey, listen, so I'm the manager on duty and this woman's here all the time and she's a huge pain. So I'm pretty sure she's full of crap, but she says you pushed her over, called her a bunch of names, and threatened her." I then say, "Literally none of that happened. I told her that if she touched me, she was gonna regret it, and that was that." The manager then says, "I thought so I'm gonna make a big show of firing you, and we can both be done with her, okay?" I then say, "Nope, I'm not dealing with her. She acts like a self-entitled hag because you bend over backwards for her every time she throws a tantrum. You do what you want, but I'm not playing." The Karen was standing behind her, sputtering like a lawnmower engine when I said that, but I didn't hear what happened after that. The cashier winked at me, hands me my receipt, and I left. You know, this is one of the only stories where OP actually goes and tells the manager that they shouldn't give in to Karens and bend over backwards for them. And honestly, there's never a good reason that a manager should bring a customer into a mess like this. Like, I wouldn't have played along either. Tell the woman that OP isn't an employee, make her realize it, and kick her out of the store. Let me know how many of you would have played along with that. So a bit of info before going in that'll make sense later. I'm a severe asthmatic, and recently I had to begin treatment to clear my airways of gunk. I'm currently taking medication to help, but it's causing a lot of chest pain on the side and causing a cough. So on this day, I left home to go to work early in an attempt to see my girlfriend. But I find myself out of my work drinks, so a Walmart trip was needed. I then got ready and into my work uniform, which is a light blue shirt with my work logo and job title stitched to the upper left. Clear white letters, with pants and black shoes. I also had on a dark green sweat jacket cause I'm cold. I got to Walmart roughly 10 o'clock. I hurry to the drink aisle and start looking for cherry soda. And that's when a lady comes up from behind and grabs my arm and starts to pull. The woman says to me, "Hey, I've been looking for one of you idiots for 20 minutes now. Now take me to the electronics section to find this item." Hearing that, I was a bit taken aback. I slide my arm out of her hand and politely inform her that I don't work at Walmart. Now, she didn't like that one bit. She starts yelling about me being disrespectful and how I'm dressed like I'm an employee. I start paying little attention to her and found my drink. That's when I start walking away, but this time, she grabs me again and starts yelling louder. The woman says, "Hey, pay attention to me. You better help me or I will get your manager." At that, I roll my eyes and say, "Ma'am, I've said this before, I don't work here. Please leave me alone, I'm in a hurry." And she didn't like this. She yells, "Liar." I then point to the words stitched on my shirt. She then lets me go, and I'm thinking that's it. So I say, "I would help you find one, but I'm in a hurry." I then try to leave again, but she gets in front of me and she says something I don't recall because the next thing I know, she punches my chest hard. Struggling to breathe already, I drop the original drink, and the next thing I know, I'm passed out. I then come to in front of the store, and the lady and the store manager are arguing with the police already called. The manager noticed I was moving and says, "Son, can you stay? The police are on their way. Are you okay?" I struggle to answer, and I'm just trying to catch my breath. The police come, and around that time, I'm able to talk a bit, but I get winded just talking. The manager shows the camera footage to the police, and I'm asked if I want to press charges alongside the manager. I say, "No, I have a bit going on. I just want to get my items and go." And I know it was stupid. The manager then gets an employee to help me get my items, and the woman was taken away. I then get my items, pay, and leave the store. Sadly, it was 10 minutes before my shift, so I had to go straight to work. Guys, that's another crazy Walmart story where an innocent person gets attacked by a Karen. Guys, I often read these stories and just think, hey, these people can totally avoid getting arrested by asking another freaking person for help. Just go ask another person. So OP does come back with an update that says that they ended up pressing charges on the woman. So this happened back in August. I had just moved to the city and started working at a bank. I didn't have the company apparel yet, but I had a good amount of business clothes, plus I like dressing nice. I was done early that day and downtown, so I figured I'd do some clothes shopping. I was shopping around the store in the business attire section while wearing my business attire, and one could guess why there would be confusion. This one lady who only spoke Spanish asked if I spoke Spanish and if I could help her. I say yes, and asked what she needed. The lady asked, "Do you know where the suitcases are?" I replied, "Sorry ma'am, I don't work here, but I think they're on the first floor." We then both laughed, and she commented on how nice my clothes looked, and she thanked me for helping her. 20 seconds later, another lady comes up to me in a not so nice way demanding that I get her another coat with matching pants in such size, asking why we had suits mixed up, and specifically to get her an effing dressing room since she had no idea why we only had 2 open in the middle of the pandemic. I then explained to her that 1, we're in a pandemic, 2, I don't know anything about suits, I just wear them, and 3, I don't work here. The lady then says, "Of course you effing work here. Why else would you be dressed like that?" I then say, "Because I like dressing nice and frankly it's none of your business." She then says, "I saw you helping the other lady. Stop lying." At this point, one of the actual workers saw what was going on and they intervened. We then both happened to be in the same changing room, different stalls, and she starts going off on the phone about how a rude employee refused to help her. When I was done trying on new suits, she was talking to the manager about me and she exclaimed, "That short one," when I walked by. The manager was like, "Who the heck is that dude?" And I just laughed and paid for my clothes. The moral of the story is don't be a Richard and someone might help you even if they don't work there. See guys, this is exactly it. I only wish more people knew that instead of attacking others, grabbing them and assaulting them, the world would be a much better place. So I'm from South Louisiana, and we have a different way of interacting with people that differs from other southern states. I'm sure many people know about southern hospitality, but South Louisiana cranks this up to 11. Ask anyone who's ever been there. We don't care about race, religion, social, or economic status. If you're human, you are owed to be treated with kindness and empathy until you prove otherwise. It was a Sunday, and I had to run to the Texas-only big grocery chain to get a few things. Sunday was a big shopping day, and the place was packed with long lines waiting to check out. I walked to the closest line with a few groceries in my arms. And this was before the prominence of self-checkout, so no matter how much or how little you bought, there was gonna be a wait. It's just how things were. No biggie. So this lady in front of me had to be in her 80s and not more than 95 pounds. Her buggy was absolutely filled to the top. The people in front of her were almost done checking out when I saw her struggling to pick up a bag of frozen chicken to place on the conveyor. She struggled again with another item, and then another, and then another. The cashier starts ringing her up and simply stared at her with the impatience while this poor lady struggled with removing items from her buggy. I was like, what the F? So I looked around and everybody was sighing with annoyance and impatience. The bagger, the cashier, the people around me, behind me. And that's when I placed my items down and asked if the lady needed any help. With the brightness and joy in her eyes, she answered, "Please." I then unloaded her buggy onto the conveyor and placed the bag groceries back in as the bagger handed them back to me. I was finished in no time. I smiled at the lady, picked my items back up, and got back in line behind her. She then paused for a moment. Evidently, she had been so flustered with trying to place her groceries on the conveyor that she had never noticed me behind her. And she says, "Wait, you don't work here?" I tell her, "No ma'am, I thought you just might appreciate a little help." She then gave me the biggest hug and with tears in her eyes, she said, thank you so much." I then smiled again and said, "You're welcome." I then followed her out and helped her load everything. She then thanked me again and told me that she dreads going to the store because it was so difficult for her and people were always getting frustrated with her when it came to checking out. And that's when I shook my head. I said to her, "That is sad. I'm sorry about that, but back home, stuff like that doesn't happen. If someone needs help, we help them." That's when she starts to tear up again. She then hugged me and thanked me once more. I told her to have a nice day and headed back to my truck. Guys, these are the I Don't Work Here stories that I absolutely love. Just humans being kind to other humans. I love this post. And that, my friends, did I say love enough? And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /I Don't Work Here Lady. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's wonderful stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'll link it right here. A super entitled Karen tries to enslave OP and his wife. And the story is super duper crazy. If you guys missed it, go check it out if you haven't. and myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.